of course, the interaction with students keep you young forever, and but to me, the most satisfying part of the teaching is that you watch the growth of your students. You have this young kid come to you and say that they have no idea what we're talking about during an investment club meeting, but then suddenly you watch them over the next 2 years to become so proficient and so confident that they end up managing the fund itself.
What do you like to see in your students? Mainly, what do you want them to take away from your class?
I want my students to take the theory, what they learn in the classroom, and apply it to life, not just their profession. And I want them to have that enthusiasm that what they learn in school is actually applicable and useful in real life.
What do you like to do on your free time?
Well, I like traveling. I enjoy my motorcycle, and I like reading.
What motivated you to get into teaching?
To tell you the truth, I wasn't planning to become a teacher, and my goal was actually to get my degree and go into trading. But then, over the years, while I spent so much time as a graduate assistant during the PhD program, I just fell in love with the interaction, I guess. I like interacting with people. That's how I ended up staying in academia.
What separates your teaching style from other professors at Orlando College of Business?
It's difficult for me to answer what separates my teaching from other professors' teaching style because I really don't know in detail how they are in the classroom. But I can tell you how I try to be different in motivating my students to think outside the box. Sometimes the most complex and mathematical, boring setting or discussion can be turned into a game, and you can actually buy their interest into the game. Then you win their attention and they learn much better. Just to give you an example, instead of going over the formulas about game theory and solving the mathematical equations, I asked them if they could actually start a grade trading game. So then they can avoid taking exams in my class. Of course, they get really excited, but I know I give the equations such that it won't work, so they'll end up taking the exams. But for those 2 weeks, they try to negotiate with each other how they can actually trade grades with each other so that they can avoid the exams for the rest of the semester without knowing they are actually learning game theory and a stock market simulation.
Tell me about a time you went beyond the line of teaching or out of your way for a student.
Many times we have to go out of our ways to help students who have different challenges and difficult challenges. And one time I particularly remember is this, that I had this student who was very shy. And in the 2 upper level classes that I teach, they have to do a group presentation. And he wanted to have a career in financial advising. I tried to convince him that to be a good financial advisor, you have to be a good salesman. Then I realized that challenging him with technical presentations was not the answer. So I pretended that I don't know much about football, which I'm in love with football. I follow college football. I'm a Gators fan. I follow NFL, but I pretended I don't know. So I kept asking him questions about how the offensive line is lined up, how the game calling works, how the strategy works. So he ended up with a marker in front of the board doing me a presentation about different offensive tactics and defensive strategies. And over the several months, it actually boosted his confidence to the point that later on, years later, he wrote me an email saying that now I realize that secretly you are actually training me to do the presentations. So little subtle ways that you have to get out of your way to help your students in different ways.
How do you engage yourself with students beyond the classroom setting, such as campus events, mentoring, anything like that?
To engage students beyond the classroom, for me, comes natural because I am the advisor of the Financial Trading Center and the Student Managed Portfolio. So every week, this is not even an assigned classroom teaching for me. Every week I meet with students for at least an hour. We discuss the economic events, and then after the meeting, my asset management team stays in the room to discuss different trading decisions. And in addition to that, I take a group of students to New York to an investment competition every year. We end up actually not just participating in the competition, but also visit the trading floor of New York Stock Exchange. And I end up interacting with them a lot beyond the classroom teaching.
How do you feel your course prepares students for the real world?
The way that I try to deliver mathematical or theoretical concepts, I hope will help them understand that any analytical setting or problem-solving skill can be applied to life itself. I try to tell my students, when you look at capital asset pricing model, you think that this is something that we value the stocks and portfolios. However, if I can get their attention to the detail, they can realize that they can actually use CAPM to solve life problems, because it involves helping them identify two sets of factors that are under their control, that they are supposed to take care of, and then factors that are not under their control, systematic factors, and they have to manage them. So to me, this is both a challenge and also a fun part of my teaching style, that I try to help them understand that they can apply these to other settings as well.
If you could give one piece of advice to your students, what would that be?
Think outside the box. What seems to be a boring mathematical equation can change your life if you know how to employ it.
What and if do you plan to do when you leave teaching?
What I will do after I leave teaching is going to be very difficult, because I plan to stay in it for a long time. But I can tell you, after I retire, there will be a lot of traveling on my motorcycle.
What is one quote that inspires you and you feel like you attempt to embody?
One quote that is very dear to me and I try to employ in my own life and my teaching is Martin Luther King says, "Our lives start ending the day we stop speaking against what matters."
What is the most important lesson, whether that be educational or life, that you think students can gain from you?
I try to always relate to my personal stories in my classes, and I hope that my students can relate to challenges in their lives, changes in their lives, and use some of my experiences so that they can realize what kind of great opportunities are offered to them after college. And I hope that they will remember the discussions we had in the classroom so they can benefit from them.